In order to protect America from current threats and future threats, we got to be cold-eyed realists. And that's why I brought up the issue of Saddam Hussein. See, I view him as a serious threat to America.
There is no doubt that Saddam Hussein's regime is a danger to the United States and to its allies, to our interests.
The conduct of the Iraqi regime is a threat to the authority of the United Nations and a threat to peace. And we will not allow any terrorist or tyrant to threaten civilization with weapons of mass murder. States like these and their terrorist allies constitute an axis of evil, arming to threaten the peace of the world. Saddam Hussein is a threat. I think the threat is real. We must take the battle to the enemy, disrupt his plans, and confront the worst threats before they emerge.
The fact is that you don't want to wait until a threat fully materializes if you can avoid having that happen.
It concludes that Iraq has chemical and biological weapons, that Saddam has continued to produce them, that he has existing and active military plans for the use of chemical and biological weapons, which could be activated within 45 minutes, including against his own Shia population, and that he is actively trying to acquire nuclear weapons capability.
Vi har en regering, som gerne vil føre en aktiv udenrigspolitik. Ja, det skal jeg sandelig love for. Den er så aktiv, så den ikke kan vente på, at det, som er vores verdenssamfund, FN, har en ordentlig, rimelig diskussion og undersøgelse af, om der er masseødelæggelsesvåben i Irak. Det er ikke noget, vi tror, det er noget, vi ved, sagde regeringen. Og så gik man i krig med Bush.
Politikerne kunne lyve alt det, de ville, men folk købte ikke deres løgne længere. Et klart flertal i befolkningen på 56% var imod dansk deltagelse i den ulovlige angrebskrig. Efter 2. verdenskrig kom der ved en folkeafstemning en grundlovsændring. I hele denne forberedelsesperiode blev der lagt vægt på fremtidige regler for krigsførelse. Det stod klart blandt et enigt flertal af daværende politikere, at Danmark ikke kunne gå i krig med mindre. Landet blev angrebet. Krigserklæringen var godkendt af FN. Intentionerne i den danske grundlov gik også ud på, at Danmark ikke kan afgive sin suverænitet, f.eks. til multinationale magter, uden en flertalsafstemning på 5/6 i Folketinget eller ved en folkeafstemning. Ingen af delene var gældende i marts 2003 ved indgåelsen i angrebet på Irak.
If they had given us a couple of more months, I think we would have been able to examine and inspect all the sites that had been given to us by the CIA and by other intelligence agencies. And since there weren't any weapons of mass destruction, we would have reported that both to the Security Council and to the services. And I think it would have been very difficult for them to start the war in those circumstances.
We know they have weapons of mass destruction. We know they have active programs. There isn't any debate about it.
We know that Saddam Hussein has a long history with terrorism.
We have facts, not speculations.
And we've been careful about what we've said, and what we've said has been exactly accurate.
We know what the fermenters look like. We know what the tanks, pumps, compressors, and other parts look like. We know how they fit together. We know how they work.
There's no doubt in my mind he wants to have a nuclear weapon, and he's got some capacity.
Sir, I think we will find caches of weapons of mass destruction. Absolutely.
There is no doubt that Saddam Hussein now has weapons of mass destruction. There is no doubt that he is amassing them to use against our friends, against our allies, and against us.
But there's no doubt his hatred is mainly directed at us. There's no doubt he can't stand us.
There is no doubt that Saddam Hussein's regime is a danger.
The United States knows that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. The UK knows that they have weapons of mass destruction. Any country on the face of the earth with an active intelligence program knows that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction.
I mean, there was no way at all that Iraq could have a nuclear weapon. We came in there, and I was the head of the IAEA in 1991, and they couldn't make a bomb then, and we dismantled all the enrichment facilities they had. So it was out of question. It was sheer propaganda.
The United States of America will not permit the world's most dangerous regimes to threaten us with the world's most destructive weapons.
What was the reason for the rush to go to war? The administration seemed in such a haste.
I think the US government had decided that they could not wait any longer than to mid-March because the temperatures would get very high.
We agree that the Iraqi dictator must not be permitted to threaten America and the world with horrible poisons and diseases and gases and atomic weapons. This man poses a much graver threat than anybody could have possibly imagined.
One thing is abundantly clear. Our nation is still in danger.
I think most people around the world realize that Saddam Hussein is a threat.
Kofi Annan, daværende FN-generalsekretær, kaldte krigen ulovlig og et brud på FN's charter. Hans Blix, der var chef for FN's våbeninspektører i Irak, fortalte i et interview på Al Jazeera, at han var blevet truet direkte af Dick Cheney til at diske op med de nødvendige svar. Der var kæmpe demonstrationer mod krigen over hele verden. I Folketinget blev der stemt, om vi skulle i krig. Hele 38% deltog slet ikke i denne vigtige afstemning. 28% stemte imod, og blot 34% stemte for. Det svarer til, at kun en tredjedel af den danske befolkningsrepræsentanter stemte for at sende os i krig.
Vi var jo en lille flok, måske en 5-6 stykker, der startede Grundlovskomiteen i 2003. Og det gjorde vi ud fra en dyb fortvivlelse og vrede over, at Danmark viste sig at være et aggressivt land, der gik i angrebskrig uden FN-opbakning. Tværtimod, Kofi Annan, dengang generalsekretær i FN, erklærede, at denne krig er ulovlig i henhold til FN-pagten. Værsgo. Det var en situation, Danmark ikke har været i nogensinde før. Og det var vi dybt farvet over.
Yesterday, we saw tens of thousands of demonstrators converge on Washington. They say we should not go to war against Iraq. I would just like to ask you this morning, what do you say to those people?
What I would say to them is that the president is trying every means not to go to war, but the decision to go to war is in the hands of Saddam Hussein.
One thing that has to factor in is the growing number of U.S. allies, Russia, Germany, Bahrain, now Canada, who say that if you go to war with Saddam, you're going to go alone. Does the American military have the capability to prosecute this war alone?
If you're asking, are you asking about Iraq? That the subject didn't come up in this meeting, but having said that, we take all threats seriously, and we will continue to consult with our friends and allies.
But broad opposition remains all over the world to your policy. Will you continue to try to build support? If so, how will you do that? Or do you think that a Security Council vote would be all the mandate you need?
Yeah. First of all, broad opposition around the world, not in support of my policy on Iraq.
Yes, sir.
Well, I think most people around the world realize that Saddam Hussein is a threat, and no one likes war, but they also don't like the idea of Saddam Hussein having a nuclear weapon.
In the past several weeks, your policy on Iraq has generated opposition from the governments of France, Russia, China, Germany, Turkey, the Arab League, and many other countries, opened a rift at NATO and at the UN, and drawn millions of ordinary citizens around the world into the streets in anti-war protests. I ask, what went wrong that